The city streets. The city streets are so diverse, and yet they have something in common. They form a kind of thoroughfare. This thoroughfare is there to get someone from A to B, and maybe to C. People pass through the streets, lost in their thoughts, but not actually reflecting. It seems almost tragic for them to simply halt for a moment. For a moment, they may catch a glimpse in the shop windows, or take a brief look at their own reflection. But what is the harm in seeing a street as a place? A place to remain. In most cities, a street seems to be a place to dwell only if you're a child of these very streets, declaring this no man's land voluntarily or involuntarily as your territory. What are they perceiving in the streets that we don't see? And how do these streets perceive us? We seem to think that we are not seen. It's like walking through the streets and being invisible, except at night. The street lanterns illuminate the streets sporadically. My shadow circles me as I walk down the street, from my A to my B. Sometimes I realize how long it has been since I consciously saw it. Like Peter Pan, who recognizes and welcomes his own shadow like an old friend. Sometimes you walk down the road, and for some inexplicable reason, you happen to look up, realizing that you have never seen this street, through which you have walked hundreds of times, as in that brief moment. A few people pass me on my path. What are they thinking? Where do they come from? Where do they go? Something I've always wondered about is, do people experience pain and loneliness in the same way. The moment when someone passes you on the other side of the street in the night, do you try to catch a glimpse and maybe even hope that the person across from you is looking back? What if the stranger across the street had just the right answer for my thoughts and problems and was able to tell me the perfect solution? I have always asked myself that. I think what we as people miss the most is to be understood. Truly. What if all the situations we are experiencing happened in a completely different environment?
I'm sitting under a tree on a white plain, looking down into the valley. The sun warms my face. From afar, someone approaches, slowly at a leisure pace, also looking for the calmness of nature. We see each other. There is no one else around. No one has to rush to get to anywhere. We say hello or not. Such things just don't seem to be important. We sit down together without purpose or intention. We sit down together without purpose or intention. The wind blows through the leaves of the tree and duets with its rustling sound with the chirping birds. Can the person sitting next to me tell if I'm feeling sad, troubled, or just deep in thought? Would they see how I am? Could I tell them everything? When I hear myself thinking like this, I have the strong feeling that it is time we need. The time not to feel rushed anywhere. The time to take a moment. The time to just stop. The day or the night. Not having to be somewhere. And become aware for a moment that you yourself are not as important, and merge with your surroundings.
Immersed in such thoughts, time seems to pass as if it were in slow motion. But as soon as I notice it, the moment is over. Do you know that one moment when you come home at night and just open the door? The light is on in the stairwell or in front of the door, but it's dark in the inside of the apartment. It is an incredibly brief moment. A deep loneliness. For a split second, you have to get used to your own home. Sometimes I think there's somebody who can see me as I move about my home. Is that the wish to be seen? To be alone is bizarre. Especially when you are truly alone and no one is around. Inside a window, somebody's watching TV. Or is there? The TV is flickering in the darkness, but no one is actually sitting in front of it. In other windows, people are in the kitchen or doing other things. What I find much more intriguing are the windows without lights. What are they experiencing at that moment? Of course, I know that they carry their stories and burdens. But do I really know? What are their stories? Sometimes I don't want the night to end. Stillness. What if I simply wasn't there anymore? Would it really matter? Grain of sand. I am walking down the street at night. I look up at the stars. Between the light cones of the street lamps, there is always this shadow. Every once in a while, you can hear a car pass by. A person suddenly comes towards me. I briefly look over and they return my gaze. We stop and look at each other, and the other person says, "Hello. Are you not feeling well?" We sit down on the step at the entrance of a house and just talk. That would be wonderful.
Это было бы замечательно.
Será maravilhoso.
Bu muhteşem olurdu.
To by bylo úžasné.
Это было бы замечательно.
Das wäre wunderbar.
سيكون ذلك رائعا.
Ce sera merveilleux.
Isso seria maravilhoso. Seria maravilhoso.